Welcome into another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, winter arrived with a vengeance last weekend in Muskoka and parts of northern Simcoe County. Many drivers stranded for hours in drifts on Highway 11. What if it happens again? Will you be ready? We'll help you get ready. Top Cheflicious is back. We find out what's in store, and a couple of Barrie Colts are headed to the World Junior Hockey Championship selection camp. We get the conversation started after this. Right then, big storm last weekend. Vehicles stuck in the snow on Highway 11 for hours. Power outages throughout Muskoka, some lasting for days. Were we ready for it? Will we be ready the next time? We've dug out our interview from a few weeks ago with Simcoe County's manager of emergency planning, Grant Durfey, running down a winter preparedness checklist in case you missed it first time around and think it might be helpful now that we've had a taste of winter.
The biggest thing is try to be prepared ahead of time. Once that snow and the ice starts, it's too late to get anything ready. So being aware of the weather, being aware of the alerts, and having everything you need ahead of time is absolutely key.
And what's everything we need? How do we need to get prepared? What needs to be in that gunny sack we have to put together?
Oh, very good question. So we always recommend that people have enough supplies in their house to be ready for 72 hours. That's everything from food and water, medications, could be supplies for your pets. But also in the winter, we want to look at what do you have in your vehicle as well. So if you get stuck in your car somewhere, do you have extra warm clothes? Do you have some extra food or water there as well? That way you can ride out those storms should you be caught out when one hits.
So what do we need to have in the car?
So in the car, we want to look for keep something warm. We always see people who, in the middle of winter, in their t-shirt and shorts, they hop in the car for a quick drive to the store and end up getting stuck somewhere in cold weather. So even if it's just a quick drive, extra blankets, extra warm clothes in your cars are always something you should do. Something to produce light, so a flashlight, some extra batteries. A big one for your car isn't something extra to have, but it's to watch out for, and that's your fuel level. Always try to have at least half a tank in your car when you go out in the winter. So if you do get stuck, you can keep that car running as long as your tailpipe isn't blocked to keep yourself warm until someone's able to get there and get you out.
There has always been concern about carbon monoxide leaching back into the car. So if you've got the car running to keep warm for an extended period, what kind of precautions do you need to take?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a big concern as well. So making sure that tailpipe is clear is absolutely key. So we have to be wary if your car slides off the road and ends up in a ditch, for example, be aware where is that tailpipe? Is it blocked underwater or blocked up with snow? Because you're right, that could cause carbon monoxide to build up in the vehicle and then cause a bigger issue down the road. So making sure that's clear when you're running the car is absolutely essential.
Should you be cranking the windows open a little bit just to get some flow of air?
Yeah, if you notice it's getting stuffy inside, if you notice you're sort of getting tired, yes, open up the windows. It's a bit hard because when you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, you don't have too many options to take. But getting some airflow in there just a little bit so you still stay warm, but can keep fresh air is essential as well. And then in addition to that, making sure you have something to keep your phone charged so you can call for help. So if it dies in the vehicle, having extra charging cable, extra battery for it, so you can get that help to come to you.
And again, just back with carbon monoxide, the danger there is you can't smell it. You don't know it's affecting you until it has, and then by then it's too late.
Yeah, it's odorless, it's colorless, you don't know, you'll just start feeling sleepy, and that's when carbon monoxide is affecting you. We see that a lot with generators as well. People who like to run their generators in their garage don't realize that carbon monoxide is building up in their garage, and in a previous life, when I was a paramedic, I've had to go and pull people out of garages because they've had generators running there. So just like your car, making sure your generator exhaust is clear, pointed away from the house, at least a couple meters away from the house as well. That way you're not getting carbon monoxide seeping into your living area either.
And we've heard in the past people using their barbecues for heat, putting them into the garage or even into the house. Don't do that.
No, don't do that. They do not burn nearly as cleanly. I know some people say, I have a gas stove. Why can't I run my barbecue? They are very different appliances. Generally speaking, they're using different fuel sources. Those are not safe and they're not efficient ways to get heat either. That barbecue isn't meant to disperse heat in your house, so it's not going to be efficient in warming anyone up.
Question we often get when the power goes out for 3 or 4 days on end. How long are things going to last in the refrigerator? Can you put them, should you put them into the freezer? When do you get rid of them?
Yeah, I know sometimes we joke power outages in the winter. We have our Mother Nature's refrigerator outdoors. Doesn't always work and doesn't always keep consistent temperatures. Some people think I'll put it outside. It might be cold overnight, but in the sun during the day, it might end up getting quite warm. So with refrigerators, generally speaking, if it's kept shut You don't open it unless you absolutely have to, and it's filled with already cool materials. It will last you a fair number of hours to a day to keep that stuff cold. It will vary by make or model. Same thing with your freezers. That can last you quite a while. The key is don't open it unless you absolutely need to. And in the event of a multi-day power outage, we'll be working with public health and the local municipalities to put out guidance to help remind people, here's what you should be looking for. And if you need to dispose stuff, here's how we'll help you create that disposal pathway.
All right, you mentioned 72 hours. Be prepared for that. What kind of things do we need to have in that kit at home, or if we have to get out of the house for 72 hours or longer?
Absolutely. So there's going to be some commonalities. We make sure we want clothes, medications, food, water. We always say throw in a deck of cards, or if you have kids, put in a game or something they like to keep them entertained. And then there's going to be some specifics. So making sure you have medication, especially if you have to leave the house. And if you can't bring it with you, at least know what your medication is, the dose, how regular you take it, so we can work to get you more replacement medication. Having extra warm clothes and blankets in the house is always key. And then any important documents. The last thing you want to do is leave your house in an emergency and not have key things like identification, health cards, insurance information with you. So knowing where that is and having it ready to go is absolutely essential.
Yeah, how often, just in day-to-day life, where did I put that? Where did I leave that? And you go hunting for it, and now all of a sudden you need to find it in a hurry, and you're scrambling, and you're panicking.
And this ties back to that preparedness piece. We want to be ready ahead of time. That includes things too, extra batteries for flashlights. We know it's very dark in the winter for long periods of time, so making sure you're prepared that way as well, and having that beforehand so you're not scrambling during an emergency, because then you're almost guaranteed to forget or miss something.
What about use of candles? People talk about keeping candles for if you get stuck in the car, candles at home, and you've got animals that maybe knock them over, you've got drapery that lights on fire. You really have to be careful.
You do have to be careful. You know, I grew up in a house where my parents loved scented candles. They were burning everywhere. So you can use candles. Obviously, they can be used safely, but they must be used safely. So use them on a non-flammable surface. Make sure they have some type of protection, like a glass case around them. Make sure they're out of reach of kids or animals. And of course, never leave them unattended. If you're in a room with a candle, when you leave that room, either it comes with you or it gets blown out, because the last thing we need is a house fire. And in the middle of the storm, it might take a while for the fire department to get there. So we really want to make sure the ideal flashlights, batteries, even those crank or wind up ones, you don't have to worry about them going out. But if you are using candles, make sure you're in the room observing them as long as they're being used.
We've touched on a lot of areas here, but if there are others or people want more information, you've got a website full of it.
Simcoe.ca/be prepared. On there, you'll find documentation, resource, checklist for everything, all kinds of different hazards, including winter weather, as well as lists for what you should have in your car, in your house, to make sure you're prepared for whatever may happen.
Worth a look.
Absolutely.
Grant, thanks for dropping by.
Thank you for having me.
Another winning weekend for the Barrie Colts to stay on top in the OHL Central Division, and just a point back of Kingston for top spot in the Eastern Conference. A couple of Colts are off to the Team Canada trials. Barrie 360's Will Conkin brings us up to speed with the help of Colts writer and broadcaster Gene Pereira.
Another not too shabby stretch for the Colts there, Gene. But we're going to start with Cole Beaudoin and Bo Akey being selected to the World Juniors camp. And you were saying as well off air that Kayshawn Aitchison could have been selected too, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly had their choice, and, Aitchison has had an outstanding year, but I think great awards for Cole Beaudoin and, Bo Akey. And, starting with Beaudoin, just a Hockey Canada favorite. They love his versatility up as a forward. You can kind of play him in any role. And I don't think any surprise his addition. And it's nice to see Bo Akey, who missed all of last season. And I know it was one of the goals for Bo to have a chance to make Team Canada. And he gets invited to the camp. And, he's just been outstanding. Just been one of those guys that, it's not only just his offensive abilities, obviously, with the puck and his rushing abilities, but, defensively, this guy is just really solid, work inside his own blue line, and it's just really nice to see him get rewarded for that. And I know it's one of the things that he was really working towards.
For this recent games that just happened, he really came to life during this stretch, eh?
Yeah, and I think you're really starting to see it, his ability to kind of take that puck. And, Will, one of the things, I knew he was always a pretty quick skater, but his ability to kind of, once he gets going through that neutral zone, It's like he's got rockets in his skates. He just skates, but he's just outstanding, and he's just so dangerous every time he gets the puck on his stick. And another thing is his just ability to read stuff. And you think he's got the puck at the point on one of the goals earlier this year. I thought it was kind of okay. Here he's going to shoot from the point, but what he was really doing, he noticed Bowden going to the net and hit him perfect, and Bowden with deflection on the goal. And it's just that type of vision that just makes him, obviously a second-round pick of the Edmonton Oilers. But this is a kid that I think is going to have a long career in the NHL.
So for the recent games, it was an exciting comeback on Thursday to beat the Sudbury Wolves in overtime 4-3, but the Wolves then bit back on Friday with a 5-3 win, and then the Colts finished the weekend handling the Brantford Bulldogs 6-2. Let's start with that first game with the Wolves. Gene, set the scene and take us through that one.
Yeah, it was one of the first period, which is not a very good period, not kind of understated for the Barrie Colts. 30 seconds in, a rare miscue by Sam Hillebrand behind the net, gives the puck away, and it ended up in the net. It just kind of got worse from there, where, Barrie was kind of listless. But, through the game, they got one in the second period. They got one early in the third to get within one, and the final minute, a bit of a controversial goal, but it was a goal as, a lot felt that the whistle went, but again, it's similar to the goal against Oshawa in the playoffs in the first round last year, where the league admitted they made a mistake in not allowing it. This time they overturned it and ruled it a goal. Emil Hemming banging it away, and of course then that set up the overtime winner by Riley Patterson. And Sudbury on Friday night, they were kind of pretty determined to get back, and same thing again, Barrie got down by 2. They came back to tie it in the second, but they just one of those nights where they just didn't have a lot of jump. And you got to give credit to a motivated Sudbury team. They get the win there, and then you go Saturday. I mean, this Brantford team, not a lot of people have talked about them, but they get Merrick Van Acker back, and Nick Lardis has just been on fire, the Chicago Blackhawks prospect, and they were just outstanding. But Barrie, just really one of their best games from start to finish. I thought they never stopped skating. A 6-2 win there, and every time Brantford would kind of push forward to make it close, Barrie would come right back and get that next goal, and an impressive win. And kudos to Sam Hillebrand, who bounced back with a really good effort that game, made some big stops in the third period to keep Brantford at bay, and Patterson a couple of goals, Bo Gelsma with 2 goals. And the teddy bear toss, he got the first goal, and it was raining teddy bears, and it's such a great tradition at Sadlin Arena. And I'll tell you, Will, there was one there that was it looked like it was about 8 feet tall, and
it was a monster.
It was a monster, and it was kind of funny seeing all the Bears around the rink before the game, and you kind of had to feel for them. They were just like ready to kind of take in the game and enjoy themselves, and next they're getting hurled over the glass down onto the ice. But again, just a great tradition for charity, and this year it's Bo Gelsma that brings down the teddy bears.
Going back on Sam Hillebrand, you've always been really high on Sam, and you've said he's had an even keel kind of mindset. You never know if he's won a game or lost a game. Maybe talk about Sam a little bit more.
It's definitely one of his strengths, Will. I mean, his ability not to get too high. He could have the greatest 50 shot save night, and you would never know it. And then, maybe a game that a couple of goals where he'd like to have back, and again, you never know it. And I think that's one of his strengths. He doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low, and it's what makes him such a good goalie. I think that he doesn't let anything kind of bother him. And for Thursday, he gets pulled after the first period. No goalie likes to get pulled, and you could see it. But he came back. He came back on Saturday, and especially in that third period, he didn't get to see a lot of action early, but Brantford started to push later, and Sam made some big stops. And again, this is a guy that he was a free agent. He was playing junior C hockey a couple of years ago, made the U.S. World Junior team last year, and a good chance that he's going to be named to this year's team, and just outstanding. The Barrie Colts have a difference maker in between the pipes there.
On slate for the Colts tonight, they host the Flint Firebirds, and then another road trip, this time out east, Kingston Friday and Ottawa Sunday. The Frontenacs are first in the Eastern Conference, but Barrie is right behind them. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. I mean, Kingston, credit to them. They've just got off to a fantastic start. I think they lost in a shootout or overtime to London on the weekend there, and London is a really good team. They won 17 in a row, and it just speaks to the volume that Kingston has played. They picked up Cedric Guindon from Owen Sound in the preseason, and he's just been outstanding. And again, much like Brantford, where Marty Williamson talked about it being a statement game, and they know that. And I think Kingston will be another statement game. Both these teams, Kingston with a 1-point lead atop the conference on Barrie, and they'll want to kind of make a statement, to show that who's the top dog in the East. And I think we're in for a really good hockey game there, and one that I know the Barrie players are certainly going to look forward to. I mean, obviously it starts Thursday, and as the old Bud Stefanski, the old Barrie Colts coach, used to always talk to me about how important those first game of the weekend was, and setting the tone for it. So you have that chance on home ice, and if they can, propel off that, get a win on home ice, and then go into Kingston, and and then obviously Sunday afternoon in Ottawa as well. Both traditionally Dave Cameron teams, well coached. Barrie's beat them before, so I'm sure they'll be chomping at the bit. But no doubt, circle that one on Friday against Kingston, one you won't want to miss.
Thanks very much for chatting, Gene.
Thanks, Will.
A must-attend event for many, a must-win event for those who take part. Top Cheflicious returns to Liberty North and Barrie in January. Our Ian McLennan gets the recipe from director Randy Feltis.
You're looking for foodies to come out and taste 10 different dishes and then vote on their favorite.
How does this play out?
It just plays out. You come in, you get a glass of Prosecco, some sparkling to kind of get your palate going, and then you just go to station, and you can have a drink in between. Sometimes the restaurants bring drinks to bribe you for your votes. Last year, the winner 147 brought a dessert. They did a pistachio tiramisu and a lobster ravioli, and that's what pushed them over the edge to get more tokens to win the Top Chef title.
Now it's competitive too, isn't it? This is serious stuff.
It's very competitive. The chefs are very serious, and they get very upset when they don't win. So I need the best people out there that know their stuff with food. They can be moody, the chefs, but they're putting their best foot forward. Work, right? They love what they do, and they're passionate about what they do, and they all believe that they brought the best dish. But there can only be one winner at the end of the night.
Now, is there any specific dish, or is it up to the chef? And how do you choose? Like, how does a chef get involved in this?
The chef gets involved by invite. Okay. Right, so the people from the website kind of say, we'd like to see this chef in there, and we can invite them in. And it's all privately owned restaurants, more or less the restaurants that are in Barrielicious that are in there, so the chefs can kind of flex their muscles and show what they can do for Barrielicious. Now, we don't ask them to do any dishes. They come up with their own dish, and we don't tell them what to do. But we saw some really cool stuff last year. We saw some rabbit. We saw some octopus. There was a potato pave. Like I said, the lobster ravioli won it. There was a beef short rib dish. So it's just kind of an array of different things going on.
The winner gets the notoriety. Is there anything else?
That is all they need. The winner gets a very busy restaurant for the entire year. Like I said, 147, it's very hard to get a reservation this year because they won last year.
And how did this all come to fruition, this idea with the contest?
We kind of had an idea of putting all the chefs in the room and doing a promotion for Barrielicious, and kind of like, hey, how can we spread the word? And now this has taken on its own identity and become its own event. And I think the people really enjoy it because they have the power of speech and they can say what dish they like.
And what's great, I guess, is for the Barrie community to realize that in our own backyard, we have a lot of local great chefs, great restaurants here.
Very talented chefs. We've got a great little food thing going on. We do have picnic in Orillia because the food scene in Orillia is doing very well as well. And then we have their chef returning from Braystone out in Horseshoe Valley at Kitchen. So we're really excited about his dish. Yeah, we've got a great little market in here, and as far as the culinary world goes, you have to be at this event if you like anything to do with food.
Early seating is 4:45, late seating 7:30 on January 11th. Ticket information at eventbrite.com. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on X and Blue Sky at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.